John Constable, the English painter who turned everyday countryside into eternal art. John Constable, 1776 to 1837, was not a painter of kings, battles, or grand mythological scenes. He was a painter of skies, fields, and rivers, yet he became one of the most influential artists in history. Born in East Bergholt, a small village in Suffolk, England, Constable grew up surrounded by mills, meadows, and the flowing River Stour. His father was a wealthy mill owner, and young John often helped with the family business, carrying grain or steering barges along the river. Those hours in the open air gave him something more precious than wealth, a profound, lifelong connection with the English landscape. As a boy, Constable was shy and sensitive, often sketching trees or clouds when others played. His early drawings revealed a passion, but his family expected him to take over the milling business. For a while he obeyed, yet he confessed that his heart was elsewhere. "I should paint my own places best," he once declared, and that phrase became the foundation of his entire artistic philosophy. Unlike many of his contemporaries, he was not interested in traveling across Europe in search of exotic scenery. For Constable, the meadows of Suffolk, the simple country cottages, and above all the ever-changing English sky were already more than enough. In 1799, against the cautious wishes of his father, Constable entered the Royal Academy schools in London. There, he trained with rigor but quickly stood apart. While others imitated Raphael or Michelangelo, Constable preferred to paint oil sketches outdoors, directly from nature, a radical practice at the time. His notebooks were filled with cloud studies, rapid sketches of cattle grazing, and even the sparkle of sunlight on water. He was fascinated by meteorology and often wrote detailed notes about the direction of the wind, the time of day, and the quality of light. These studies became the secret fuel for his larger canvases, which he would later complete in the studio. Constable's career was not easy. London critics were skeptical. His work seemed unfinished to many, too loose, too full of flickering brushstrokes. He was often overshadowed by more fashionable painters. Yet he never abandoned his vision. Day after day, he walked into the fields with his paintbox, rising early to capture dawn skies and working tirelessly at his easel into the night. His daily routine often began with long solitary walks, sketching along the Stour Valley, then afternoons spent applying those impressions onto larger canvases. Friends noted that he spoke of nature almost like a poet, and he often compared painting to capturing music, both fleeting and eternal. In 1816, Constable married his beloved Maria Bicknell after years of family resistance to their union. Their marriage was a deep source of joy, though marked by hardship. They had 7 children together, but Maria's health was fragile, and her struggle with tuberculosis eventually ended in tragedy in 1828. Her death devastated Constable, who dressed in black for the rest of his life. Some of his later works grew darker in mood, filled with stormy skies that seemed to echo his grief. Yet even in sorrow, his brush never lost its vitality. He painted not simply what he saw, but what he felt, the shifting moods of nature as a mirror of the human soul. One of his most famous masterpieces, the Hay Wain, 1821, depicts a rustic wagon crossing a quiet river. At first glance it seems ordinary, but the painting pulses with movement, clouds drift, water ripples, trees whisper in the wind. When exhibited in England, critics shrugged. But when the painting traveled to Paris, French audiences were astonished. Eugene Delacroix himself was inspired, and decades later, the Impressionists would cite Constable as a pioneer. Ironically, the man once dismissed at home became a hero abroad. Constable had other triumphs, Dedham Vale, Flatford Mill, and his extraordinary cloud studies, which today are celebrated as precursors to modern plein-air painting. He proved that beauty is not reserved for cathedrals or palaces but can be found in a humble meadow, a weathered barn, or a fleeting summer sky. He was, in essence, a democrat of art, showing that the everyday countryside of Suffolk was as worthy of immortality as any ancient myth. Despite his fame abroad, Constable remained modest and rooted. He disliked flattery, rarely sought social circles, and preferred evenings reading, walking, or sketching with his children. His habits were steady, early rising, careful observation of weather, constant sketching, and reflective writing. He once admitted that painting was not just his profession but his way of life. Even when he became a royal academician in 1829, he kept his humility, still calling himself a simple countryman. In his final years, Constable grew increasingly melancholic, haunted by the loss of Maria. Yet his canvases remained alive with the energy of wind and water. He died in 1837 at the age of 60, leaving behind a body of work that transformed landscape painting forever. More than an artist, he was a visionary who taught the world to look again at the ordinary, and find in it the sublime. Today, Constable's paintings hang in the greatest museums, from the National Gallery in London to the Louvre in Paris. But his true legacy lives not only in galleries but in the countless artists he inspired. The Impressionists' love of light and atmosphere, Turner's experiments with skies, and even modern plein air painting all carry a trace of Constable's hand. He was, above all, faithful to his creed: paint what you love, and love what you paint. John Constable's story is one of persistence, sincerity, and vision. He never chased grandeur yet achieved greatness. He never abandoned his fields, rivers, and skies, and in doing so, he gave the world a new way of seeing. His art whispers to us even now, beauty is everywhere, if only we open our eyes.